Kingwest Resources, we're quite a young company with projects just in Western Australia, gold and nickel projects. Relatively small market cap currently, not too many shares on issue. Diversified board. I'm a geologist by profession, got more than 30 years experience. Gregory Bitar, who is our chairman, is also here today. He's got a lot of banking and finance expertise. Jonathan Downs is a geologist, and Ashok Perek is a businessman and accounting background. A major shareholder is Horizon Minerals at 15%. They are the company that, also a gold company in the Eastern Goldfields, that we acquired the projects from just 2.5 years ago. So the Eastern Goldfields is one of the great gold producing areas in the world, as well as nickel. Both of our projects are directly along strike from Kalgoorlie, 90 kilometres and 130 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie. Menzies has a historic production history of 800,000 ounces at 19 grams per tonne. So the very high grade. It was one of the original Eastern Goldfields. Most of that was produced from underground mines from 1895 through to the Second World War. Then in the 1990s, there was open pit mining done, but very little in the interim. When we acquired these projects, there was only 170,000 ounces in JORC Resources. We've now developed that to over 500,000 ounces. You can see the location is on the highway, within trucking distance of numerous mills, so we don't necessarily have to reach a critical mass to develop our own mill. Goongarrie is much more grassroots exploration and has been the focus of a lot of our recent activities. But our strategic objectives this year, follow up the discovery of the Sir Laurence Gold Discovery at Lake Goongarrie. We've just inaugurated a 4,000 metre diamond drilling program there to follow up on our discovery. Commercialise our 500,000 ounces of gold at Menzies. We've commenced exploration for nickel also at Goongarrie and have some success there. And then we ultimately aim to continue to grow the Menzies JORC Resources with extensional drilling at depth. Just under Goongarrie, it's very grassroots. About 80% of the project's under lake sediment, so it hasn't been effectively explored previously. We went in there with this conceptual target just over a year ago, based on the similarities of the lithostructural setting to Canal Bell, which is a multi-million ounce deposit further to the south. And our first round of air core drilling was successful, and now we've proved up significant mineralisation over a strike length of 2 kilometres and a cross strike of 1 kilometre. We have to drill through quite a lot of lake sediments to get it into the bedrock, and the air core drilling only just slowly penetrates the bedrock, but we were hitting mineralisation in the overlying sediments and in the bedrock, so we've got a lot of confidence that there is potential for a multi-million ounce deposit there. As I mentioned, we just started diamond core drilling a few weeks ago. We've planned 4,000 metres initially, and if we're successful, we'll continue to extend that program. We really need that to figure out the structural controls and the primary, the orientation of mineralised veins and that under that Sir Laurence area. It's quite a large area, so there are a lot of options and a lot of drill targets even within that area. So that has great potential, and is a very exciting exploration target. That's just a view of the lake. We had to have customised drill rigs built basically to handle the drilling conditions. They're all track mounted. It's really quite boggy under the centre of the lake, and you can't have a very, very big heavy drill rig. But this is the diamond core rig on the first hole there, and that managed to drill down to 430 metres in the first hole, so it still has quite good depth capacity. But we couldn't put a heavier RC rig onto this part of the lake, there's a big paleo drainage channel basically running underneath there. So this is where it's about 80 metres deep of lake sediment cover. Around the edge of the lake is much more shallow and less challenging. realised we've got a lot of nickel sulphide potential also. That Sir Laurence area is shown in there in that oval shape in the centre of the diagram there. The purple shape is the highway ultramafic, which includes a komatiitic unit, which has a fertile nickel sulphide signature. Other deposits have been already mined along strike to the south, the Scotia nickel deposit, and the Saints nickel deposits have been proven up by just outside our tenement boundaries on the southern part of the tenement boundary. So initially we needed to do air core drilling once again to really test the limits of that highway ultramafic. We've just completed that. We announced some results today. We're getting elevated nickel in the northern area and the southern area, and thankfully it's only about 20 metres deep with the cover there, and we're getting to bedrock, so it's much easier to drill in those and a drier condition. So we can come back with a larger RC rig and test those further in the future. But we've got 11 kilometres of that strike length within our tenements for the highway ultramafic, so there's large potential prospective areas there. This is the northern area. You can see in the purple shape once again. The actual prospective highway ultramafic is much wider than we expected, just based on the magnetics, and we are getting some good results there of over 0.5% nickel. So that's not economic, but it is elevated and shows that we're potentially quite close to nickel sulphide mineralisation. So the next step now is to get in with an electromagnetic survey and test for conductors that will be associated with the nickel sulphide if it is there, and then follow that up with drilling. Also, during that program, we assayed for gold, because it's also a good prospective area for gold with the structural setting and the host rocks, and we had quite a few anomalous intersections there, and a lot of those are shallow in bedrock as well, so over 1 gram per tonne and some reasonable intervals, and pretty much encouraging where we expected to have the best results we got them. So we need to follow that up with drilling when we get the RC rig out there as well. Just on our Menzies Resources, you can see they're all within one structural corridor, pretty much showing the shapes of the systems in yellow and the actual resources in red. You see the highway running through there, the town of Menzies, all within granted mining leases, so it's be quite easy to expedite them and get them back into production. So we're really working on that, looking at the best way to commercialise these assets. These are just open pittable resources at this stage, and with a limited depth shown there on the left. That's the limit of the drilling, so there's still potential for these to grow these resources much more to open pittable depths. As showing the Lady Shenton system in the centre of the project there. About 60% of the total resources are within that Lady Shenton system. So potentially you have one large pit, those red shapes are the resources projected to surface, one large pit or 2 pits, and then get into underground mining in the future. We do have one underground resource at Yundaga. This was the southernmost deposit at Menzies. The open pit is shown side on in the brown shape there. That's still in very good condition. So we could go in and mine this from underground by putting a decline straight off the end of that pit and getting into the resources which are shown in the colour underneath. And once again, they're limited by the depth of the drilling. There's probably much better profit margins in this underground mining versus doing an open pit on Yundaga. The yellow shape is a historic underground mine that went down to 600 vertical metres, so we do know that some of these high-grade chutes can have very, very deep roots. It's still open at the bottom. We've actually drilled underneath that and hit economic grade at 25 grams per tonne underneath that, but we haven't drilled underneath those pink shapes yet. So there's a lot of potential to grow those underground resources, and ultimately we'll do that down the track as well.